Jesmon players, rejoice for the unlimiting of Saviorhuckmon. With this card newly available at 4, what direction does the deck go now? While I do gripe about OTKs, my reasoning for it is mainly because they're for the most part uninteractable. As a result, is it a game between two people if only one player is making all the moves? Regardless, Jesmon is one of the first decks I wanted to explore because for the most part, BT14 and EX5 offer no additional support cards for this archetype, which largely makes it one of the most easily constructed decks without proxies. As always, I'll cover the card by card substitutions, and combos. Without further ado, let's look at Jesmon OTK. Previous incarnations of the build ran Jesmon GX, which resulted largely in part to Sukutamon eggs being played. These eggs from BT4 do give you memory when attacking, but only if your Digimon is level 7. While you do run Blitz Omnimon in this new variant, I honestly think the better egg is BT8-Gurimon. This level 2 Digimon simply draws you a card if your Digimon has 6000 DP or more. Unfortunately, BT13-Huckmon is only 5000 DP, but the trade-off is worth it considering you can gain memory with its inheritable. No other egg seemed viable, but if Bandai ever releases a red egg that, when attacking, deletes a Digimon with 2000 DP or less, I'd probably tech this as a 5th egg, especially on the off-chance green matchups with Pomumon. For level 3s, I've kept it largely simple with 14 of them. 4 BT13-Huckmons, largely for its inheritable of your turn, once per turn when you play a Digimon with Sistermon in its name, gain 1 memory. The passive effect isn't much of a priority, but if you do play a Sistermon while this Digimon is out, you can Digivolve into Huckmon without paying its cost. BT6 is largely your MVP as the most generic searcher, and out of this list only bottom decks 4 cards. Your single Chimeramon, your single ADP, and both Omnimons. But the rest of the deck is searchable. To round out the Huckmons, I utilize 2 from BT7. This simple Digimon has an inheritable of when attacking, reveal the top 5 cards and add all Sistermon among them to hand. Trust me, you'll need this sometimes. But outside of Huckmon, this Digimon is utilizing 2 Sistermon Blancs for blocking, and 2 for their Trash 1 Draw 2 effect. And believe me, the Trash 1 Draw 2 effect can come in handy, especially as you dig deeper and find potentially that Chimeramon. While you may be wondering, but Digi-Panda, where's the Solarmon for Blue Flare decks? In all of my test games I've played so far, I largely only have 1 Digimon in play at most, and my stack stays in the back before I'm ready to promote. This deck can rip a lot of security in 1 turn, and even my Saviorhuckmon is ripped from the sources. Digging so many cards in a single turn can yield that potential Chimeramon play, where I can slot that Saviorhuckmon back under it. For your level 4s, BT13-Huckmons might have a weaker stat line, but it is arguably the star of the level 4s. This Digimon can Digivolve into a Saviorhuckmon for a reduced cost of 2, if a Digimon with Sistermon in its name is played. But its inheritable is identical to that of the BT13-Huckmon for another memory gain. BT6-Huckmon is arguably your best level 4 to have in the stack when you're playing against green. Problem with Pomumon, if you've got a Sistermon already in play, you're fine. But if you don't, well, that might become problematic. For seals, I kept it simple to 6, meaning in total this deck runs only 10 Sistermons. The first Sistermon seal I utilize is from BT10, which on play, one of your Digimon may Digivolve into a Digimon with Royal Knight in its traits for its Digivolution cost. Which your turn, when your Digimon Digivolves into a Digimon with Huckmon or Royal Knight in its traits, gain 1 memory. The other Sistermon seal is from BT6, a Digimon with an all turns effect that gives your Digimon with Huckmon in their name, or Royal Knight in their traits, plus 2000 DP. But on play, gain 1 memory. There is so much memory gain in this deck that you have a lot of ways to retain turns. While you could run the starter deck Sistermon seal, the reboot effect is largely not necessary unless you want extra ways to search. While I didn't mention this in the level 3s, I largely ignored the Huckmon, Huckmon, and Saviorhuckmon from the starter deck because they provide DP buffs or the capability to attack your opponent's unsuspended Digimon. But again, this is largely unimportant. Newly unrestricted Saviorhuckmon is crazy. In playtesting, once I find one, I'm shipping the next one to the trash. Because if I can dig deep enough to find the Chimeramon, I'm probably going to win. This Digimon when Digivolving can play one Digimon with Sistermon in its name from your hand, without paying the memory cost. But that's not the best part. If you have a Digimon with Sistermon in its name in play, unsuspend this Digimon. That's the inheritable. You want to OTK with this deck? It's very possible. The other Saviorhuckmon doesn't give you the unsuspend, but you can play another Sistermon with its inheritable. At times you might utilize the Your Turn effect to Digivolve into your Jesmon to put more Sistermons on board, but honestly, the BT6 one is superior. While my initial list had 2 Chimeramons, I actually didn't want to remove one from my collection binder, so I playtested with one. And honestly, I found this card very quickly in my test games every time. But Chimeramon's effect helps to DNA 2 newly played Sistermon seals into a new attacker. But the best part is slotting a Saviorhuckmon that you trash to make another unsuspend attack with Jesmon. When it comes to Jesmons though, there's 2 you want to run in this deck. No more Gankumon X, just Starter Deck Jesmon and Jesmon X. Starter Deck Jesmon is your MVP of the deck. When Digivolving, Blitz. And when attacking, you may play one Digimon card with Sistermon in its name without paying cost. Your turn once per turn when you play another Digimon by an effect. This Digimon gains plus 3000 DP and security attack plus 1 for the turn. While this is only once per turn, the when attacking effect is not. I'll explain more of this deck when I get to the combos. Jesmon X is largely a target for Digivolving on top of Jesmon, in conjunction with the BT10 Sistermon seal. And believe me, the combo happens quite frequently and can net you another memory, if not more. And while Jesmon GX was the final attacker, move aside, because Blitz Omnimon is back in the deck. Searchable off cards like From Master to Disciple, but not Huckmon. But bottom line, this could be your pseudo reboot and protection from deletion or bounce. For option cards, 4 From Master to Disciple is mandatory for this build, while you could utilize a build with offense, training, and Tai Kamiya. From Master to Disciple searches every card in the deck, except 2. In this specific variant, a Delicate Plan and Chimeramon. Although the new training options reduce Digivolution cost by 2, and From Master to Disciple only does 1. When it is hit in the security, the effect will net you search regardless. Now the last option card is actually a flex spot. There are a few options you could run. Number 1, you could run Crimson Blaze and drop potentially one other card to make room for a second copy. But in my mind, this deck is all gas and no defense. Number 2, Solarmon. If your local is playing into the Blue Flare matchup a lot, you might want to consider this to block their Digicross capabilities. Number 3, Fireball to remove floodgates that try to stop you from gaining memory, or playing Digimon by card effects. Number 4, Offense Training to find more red cards. But remember, this will bottom deck a total of 13 cards that are white. But for me, again I went all gas in this build, and for that one potential matchup with security control, a Delicate Plan felt like the right choice. In current playtesting, the deck has played against BT14 D-Brigade and Beelzemon, largely because I wanted to know how wider building boards fare against it, and of course, option cards in the security. In the 6 games I played, one game had a brick hand that put me one turn behind D-Brigade, but against Beelzemon, Decoy Sistermon Blanc came in clutch. Combo-wise, this deck is insane, building in the raise from a BT13 Huckmon to BT13 Huckmon. The rest of your time playing the deck is based on finding your main pieces: Sistermons, Saviorhuckmons, and Jesmon. The goal is to draw more and choke your opponent to 1 where possible, but every time I was put to 2 or 3 memory, I had already typically established 2 from Master Disciples, and it was time to combo off. At 3 memory, I would delay both from Master to Disciples to reduce the next Digivolution cost by 2. Digivolving Huckmon and his Saviorhuckmon for 1 memory. I'm now able to play a Sistermon, and usually, it was Sistermon Seal from BT6. This would gain me 1 memory, and then Huckmon and Huckmon would gain me 1 additional memory, putting me to 5. Digi-evolving into starter deck Jesmon for 4, and the fun would begin. Attacking with Jesmon lets me play a Sistermon, again usually a Blanc decoy up just in case, and unsuspending with Saviorhuckmon's effect. Check 2 security. By the way, the Blanc would be a trash 1, draw 2. A second attack would let me play another Sistermon, which let's say was Sistermon Seal from BT10. Meaning if I had the Jesmon X, I could Digivolve into this to gain another memory and play another Sistermon from its when Digivolving effect as well. And that's 2 more checks. Assuming I've chipped 1 damage earlier in the turn from say a Blanc for drawing or a Huckmon that search off the top 5 cards, that's 5 damage, and then it's Blitz Omnimon for game. Strength-wise, this deck is all gas and not too much on the defense. And with cards like Jesmon X, you can also provide ways to attack your opponent's unsuspended Digimon. But weakness-wise, Floodgates will be a problem, whether you're stopping the memory gain, or Digimon from being played by card effects. And while this was preliminary testing, I do feel that Blue will be bringing back Madoki Betamon to stop memory gain. Green will likely retain Pomumon moving forward in a BT14. But generally speaking, for the first look at the deck after Saviorhuckmon's unrestrictions, what are your thoughts on this type of deck? Do you feel all gas is a problem, or will you be looking to stay with Jesmon GX as your top end? Let me know in the comments, and I'll catch you next week on an EX5 set review. This is Digi-Panda, logging out.